So we are going to be watching round 3 of the Portland Regional Championships between Abdullah Mohayyunddin and Dylan Salvanera. Sorry if I pronounced either of those names wrong. So an important thing to note is Abdullah actually has a game loss already due to a team sheet error. So Dylan has won game 1 essentially without having to play it. So Abdullah has a team of Raging Bolt, Flutter, Entei, Rillaboom, Chien and Gyarados, whereas Dylan has a team of Landorus, Flutter, Chien, Water Ogrepon, Raging Bolt and Entei. So they've got 4 of the same Pokemon. Abdullah has Rillaboom, Gyarados, whereas Dylan has Ogrepon, Landorus. And I think in this situation I would much rather be Dylan. I feel like Gyarados probably can't come to this matchup, it doesn't really do that much. Landorus from Dylan can, however, and I think both Rillaboom and Ogrepon can come, but I think the follow me from Ogrepon is going to be very big in this matchup. So if you're Abdullah, I think you're going to have to take advantage of the fact that you have Fake Out and your opponent doesn't, which might be quite hard to do seeing as Dylan has Inner Focus on his Entei, he has a Flutter and he has Ghost Terror on his Chien. So maybe actually if you're Abdullah, you just go with the 4 that they've also got, the Chien, Entei, Flutter and Raging Bolt. Abdullah does have the Calm Mind Raging Bolt on his side. So maybe his game plan should be to try and set up some Calm Minds with that, but when there's a Chien, a Flutter, another Raging Bolt and a Lando on the other side, that feels quite difficult to do. So maybe Abdullah needs to do something like lead Raging Bolt Entei, as Entei threatens the 2 main things that threaten Raging Bolt, which are Flutter and Chien. But if you lead the Raging Bolt, it's harder to switch it out because you'll lose your booster energy. So I think Abdullah probably just wants to lead Entei, Chien, and then in the back probably just Flutter Raging Bolt. I think you could also go Flutter Rillaboom. Actually think about it, I don't think Raging Bolt is that good in this matchup. Its Thunderclaps can just be follow me away, which isn't very useful, and it's just heavily threatened by everything, so I think Abdullah should go Entei, Chien, Flutter, Rillaboom in this matchup. Whereas from Dylan's side, you can realistically go any of your 6. I think Ogrepon should be coming and Flutter should be coming. I think those 2 are very important. Maybe even as a lead, like you could just follow me and start spamming Dazzling Gleams. The only thing on Abdullah's side that resists a Dazzling Gleam is Entei, which is weak to the Water Ogrepon. So I think you could realistically do like Flutter, Ogrepon. I think I'd want to see Landorus. I think Landorus is quite good, but actually I think you need Entei just to cover the Chien from Abdullah's side. So Ogrepon, Flutter, Entei, and then one of Landorus and Chien I would go with. Actually, I think Chien because of how well it covers Rillaboom. So I think that those are the 4 that Dylan should go with. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a Landorus. And we do see Dylan lead the Ogrepon Flutter as Abdullah leads Chien Entei. So in this position, the Chien and Flutter speed tiers are going to be very interesting. Dylan could realistically just protect in Dazzling Gleam if he wants to stay safe, but I also think it's fairly safe for him to just Ivy Cudgel with the Ogrepon, presuming he leaves a double up. But we also don't know the speed tiers between the Ogrepon and the Entei. If the Entei is faster on Abdullah's side, a Sacred Fire Icicle Crash into that slot is pretty strong, unless there's a Spiky Shield. So maybe you just Icicle Crash and Sacred Fire the Flutter slot, as it can't protect, and then if there's a follow me, that should be quite good. And then if you're Dylan, you probably want to Spiky Shield or Gleam. So we do see a Protect come out from Abdullah's Chien and a Protect come out from the Entei, probably just seeing if this Ogrepon protects and what this Flutter locks itself into. The Ogrepon does just follow me, and I imagine this is going to be a Dazzling Gleam. And it is just a Dazzling Gleam. So now Abdullah knows that his Entei is fairly safe in this position against the Flutter However, the Ogrepon is still threatening the Entei. I think now if I'm Dylan, I probably want to Ivy Cudgel and Gleam. And if I'm Abdullah, you probably Icicle Crash, Sacred Fire. I still think you do it into the Flutter in case of a Spiky Shield. Although it's very risky from Dylan to Spiky Shield an attack when he could just lose his Flutter to a Icicle Crash. And we do see extreme speed from Viente, so not very confident about the speed tiers. And we see no follow me. A Dazzling Gleam comes out from the Flutter main, and this Chien gets taken down to Focus Sash. Viente doesn't take that much from that, despite the fact that it is Citrus Berry and Icicle Crush into the Ogrepon, and it lives! It lives, but it flinches! Oh my god. Okay, so that flinch was huge. That was almost definitely an Ivy Cudgel going into the Entei, which would have knocked it out, put Dylan in an incredible position. He's still in a decent position, depending on if he lives the Icicle Crash. I think if you're Abdullah, you just extreme speed the Ogrepon slot, Icicle Crash the Flutter main slot, and hope it kills. But maybe Dylan expects that and spike his shields this turn. So if you want to read that Dylan is going to spike his shield, you could protect Sacred Fire, get rid of this Flutter main so that you keep your Chien for the next turn. But it does just follow me. And we see no protects coming out from anything. An extreme speed from Viente, picks up the Ogrepon, does the Chien Icicle Crash hit, and does it KO? That's the very important question right now. He just Sucker Punches? Okay, so he's not confident he outspeeds, despite the fact I thought last turn we saw that he outsped. Or am I wrong? No, I think I'm wrong. I think we did actually see the Flutter main outsped the Chien, so that was actually a very smart play. He knew he was going to lose his Chien. He maybe could have switched instead. It depends what he has in the back, but if he has Rillaboom, I think he could have switched into Rillaboom extreme speeded. But they do trade Pokemon. The Chien for the Ogrepon, I think if I'm Dylan, I prefer that trade, but the flinch was unfortunate. We do actually see Gyarados. I'm very surprised to see Gyarados and Raging Bolt come in. Raging Bolt is now in an incredible position here. It's just not threatened at all by damage. Like Stomping Tantrum from Entei, if it has it, which it does, is not going to do that much damage, and it can just one-shot this Gyarados back. It probably can't KO the Entei from here, but after Dazzling Gleam, maybe it can, but the Dazzling Gleam will probably activate the Citrus Berry. So if you're Dylan, you must feel very good in this position. The Gyarados also doesn't have Protect, so I think you could probably just Thunderbolt into the Gyarados slot and Gleam, and that covers a lot of different plays. You maybe want to Thunderclap it though, in case it waterfalls your Flutter main, but I wouldn't risk that. We do see the Helping Hand going up into the Entei. Dazzling Gleam just comes out again, does pretty good damage into both of them. Activates the Entei Citrus Berry, which will put it back to around what it was before. The Stomping Tantrum from Entei comes out. How much is this going to do? Helping Hand boosted, about 60%, which isn't bad damage, but it's not what you want to see. And the Thunderbolt comes out, just KOs the Gyarados. I really don't think Abdullah should have brought Gyarados in this matchup. It didn't feel very good to me at all. I mean, the matchup's rough anyway. And we do see Abdullah's last Pokemon is the Flutter main. So with Flutter main here, I think you have to hope that your Flutter main is faster and you get a Gleam double knockout. Abdullah probably knows. He'll know the speed tiers between his own Flutter main and Chien, and then the speed tiers between Dylan's Flutter main and Chien. So he might know if he outspeeds or not, whereas Dylan doesn't. So if you're Dylan, you probably Gleam, and then it depends on what your last is, but maybe you Thunderclap the Flutter main. He does just Protect. That's a very strong play, and we do see that Dylan's Flutter main outspeeds, gets another Gleam off, which does pretty good damage to both on around 80 HP, both of them. A Gleam from Abdullah's Flutter main comes out, just KOs Dylan's, and Entei, I believe, went for a Stomping Tantrum. It did. I think a play from Abdullah there, which probably isn't like useful at all, but if you extreme speeded yourself, you would have had double power Stomping Tantrums this turn, and the Gleam is going to pick up the knockouts anyway. But we do see the Landorus from Dylan, and I really don't see how Landorus isn't going to win this. He probably just Stomping Tantrums. They both, I believe, have their Terra left. So we do see a Terra coming out. I believe that's from Dylan. Yes. So his Landorus is going for Terra Flying, probably going for Terra Flying Terra Blast, which will pick up the Flutter main. And we do see a Terra coming up from Abdullah. It is the Entei going for the Terra Normal. So we can Terra normal extreme speed, which I imagine should be able to pick up the KO on the Raging Bolt, but it would not be able to pick up the KO on the Landorus. And we do see if extreme speed comes out. Is it going to pick up the Raging Bolt? It should do, it does. And I imagine we're going to see a Terra Blast into the Flutter main. I think if he doesn't Terra Blast for Flutter main, this might be a throw from Dylan. Yeah, we do just see the Terra Blast into Flutter main. And I think now Abdullah has to extreme speed, hope it crits for Landorus. But even then, I don't think that's KOing. But surely the Landorus cannot live a Terra Blast from here. But maybe that's what you've got to go for and then hope you sacrifice a burn. We do see the Terra Blast coming out from Landorus. How much is it going to do to the Entei? And it does pick up the knockout. And Dylan wins technically game 1, which was technically the set because he got the game 1 win. I think that was very rough for Abdullah as well. Because Dylan had so many options with what he could have brought in the matchup. A game 1 would have been very useful for him.
That round 3. And Dylan, first off, congratulations. You're 3-0. How are you feeling now for the rest of the tournament, especially in a brand new format?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about my standing right now, 3-0, and like you said, a new format. A lot of what I was not really confident going into this because there's so much new Pokemon and a lot more new things to play around with going into Regulation F as it was with Regulation E. So it was really hard for me to try and prepare for this and feel comfortable with what I'm using.
What I find so interesting is that you're such a creative team builder. And so I feel like naturally for that, you have to have a certain level of information and knowledge in order to make those sort of strategies work. So did you get almost overwhelmed with the opportunities and possibilities when looking at a new format? Yeah,
I'd say it was kind of similar to that. It's also the amount of time that you have to focus in on teams leading up to this event, I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, so it's I kind of had to use my time sparingly, and a lot of my friends too, they were also very busy because the holiday season, New Year's, right. And they already have pre-existing plans, and I already had pre-existing plans, so it became a bit of a time crunch, essentially. I think on the way, on the way here to Portland, I ended up buying Wi-Fi on the airplane. I ended up practicing on the airplane and looking at all these statistics sheets and all that, and I think that was probably the best $8 I spent.
That's dedication right there. Seems like that's going to be paying off for you, especially looking at your comfort with the team that you were running. I want to hone in on that Landorus specifically. That was a Pokemon I think you used on your LAIC team, right?
Yeah.
Did that influence you at all in terms of comfort to bring it to a new format?
No, actually, surprisingly enough, the Landorus T was the most replaceable slot on this team, I thought, going into this event. It's because I really think that Landorus T is being really outshone by its incarnate form right now, and especially now that we have Incineroar back in the format, there's a better Intimidate option, and then obviously, like I said, incarnate form is a lot better of a ground coverage move with the Life Orb Sheer Force. You're not being intimidated by other Intimidators. So actually, yeah, so Landorus T was honestly on the first to get the chopping block when I was playing with this team, but I couldn't find anything. I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have enough time to try and test things out, so it's better to go safe than sorry.
Certainly worked out for you so far. So I think the last thing that I would like to just give you a chance for is shout outs. Would love to follow the rest of your journey, but who else has kind of helped you prep for this event? I know you said people were busy, but who's supporting you?
Always got to give out a shout out to my friend Nick Willems, friend since forever, been helping me a lot. Joseph Argate, he's playing in this too. I always got to shout out my mom. I love you, Mom. I know you're watching this time. Yeah, and yeah, just anybody else that I can't remember, Casey, CJ Slim, Silver Broom, a lot of people, yeah.
You've got a great network of people out there. Dylan, thank you so much for taking the time to chat, and best of luck with the rest of the tournament.
Thank you, you too.